I quit my six-figure-a-year job after I learned this lesson about money. Here we are at our very first rental property. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
And welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about why I left a six-figure-a-year job. Was I crazy because I learned something specific about money? Was I learned something specific about the way that I was making money? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Am I crazy?
Yes.
Well, I'm crazy, but it has nothing to do.
How many times you ask me that?
But it has nothing to do with me doing this strategy. So I had a very high-paying job, 6 figures a year, and I had a foreclosure at a time when I was working at this 6-figure job. And so this is sort of my story about it, but I hope that if you're paying attention to this, watching this video, that there's something you could take away from this in your life that you might be able to employ to become financially free. That's what this channel is all about, right?
You know, a lot of times people ask me like, oh, what do you guys do? Where do you work? And I say, well, we work together. We have investments that we run together. We have an investment business that we run together. And they say, well, how do you do that? And I said, well, we did it on purpose, actually. It was very intentional because both of us were TV news anchors. And we decided one day, we realized, we're just kind of treading water. If we don't have these jobs, we're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
And we were very deliberate about how powerless that made us feel. So we reverse engineered how to not need those jobs, right?
Yeah, and it kind of started with me having this foreclosure. I had a foreclosure on a property in Florida. This was during the crash, and I moved to the Philadelphia area, and I was still paying for this property that it was in Florida. And I ended up going through a foreclosure and ended up having to then pay this judgment on this foreclosure through this bank. And I still had to also support my family. And the only way that I was doing it was from a paycheck, from a W-2 paycheck. And when I realized, like, holy smokes, what happens if I don't have this paycheck? Well, guess what happened? That's exactly what happened. I then lost my job on top of that. So I found myself working in a 6-figure job where suddenly the bosses said, hey, we're not going to renew your contract. We want to take things in a different direction. And oh my God, I'm out of a job. So now that entire safety net that I had was that W-2 job. That paycheck now gone, but I still had those expenses that I had to pay. I still had to pay that foreclosure. I still had to pay that mortgage. And all I had was a W-2 paycheck to show for it.
A friend of mine said to me recently, I don't have any assets, but I also don't have any debt. And so, he was trying to figure out how to live on this new job that he had been offered. And I thought, well, okay, but then you're only paying to live day by day, right? And that's not how wealthy people live. That you might as well go live and forage for rice every day to just make sure that you have enough to eat, right? Okay, that's a fine life for some people, but if you are choosing to live in the Western world where it's very expensive and you have sort of dreams of living a lifestyle here, you have to think about it differently. You don't want to tread water where you own nothing and you owe a lot, or you own nothing and you owe nothing. Again, you're not building wealth. So what we had decided to do one day, we said, well, okay, what if we owned enough in performing assets that we didn't need these jobs? And we turned our laser focus as a family on acquiring things that performed for us, that paid us every month without having to say, oh, can I still work here, please? Do you still like us enough? And especially our job, I think, added that extra layer of insecurity because most people think, I can be good at this job and put on 5 pounds. We really couldn't, right? We were network news anchors. If they didn't like us, if someone came along who was younger, who was prettier, who didn't have kids and could work, these are my insecurities I'm sharing with you right now. But, I saw a lot of ladies who didn't have kids who could work all kinds of jobs that then I couldn't do. So we decided these things are not going to be our vulnerabilities anymore. We decide now.
Right. And so I ended up getting another job, another 6-figure-a-year job at a network news level. So very high paying job. And it was great. Right. Mm-hmm. But I realized that that was the only safety net we had. And so there was a time when even when I was working that job where we couldn't pay the mortgage, that because we were W-2 paycheck employees, that money coming in was simply going right back out the door to those liabilities. So we were living the thing that we talk about here on the channel all the time is that middle class, crunch, where the middle class thinks that they're wealthy by living in a big house, having car payments, and you're living the American dream, but they've got no assets. So they're house poor. And that's kind of where we were. Mm-hmm. And you're putting money in a 401k, which we now know is a fairly terrible way of building for retirement. Right? The average 401k at retirement, according to reports, is $90,000. So if you retire, can you live off of $90,000 a year from that 401k? So
not a year, total.
Total. I'm sorry. That's even worse than I even said.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, but no, most people get $90,000 total.
Yeah, and so that's all we had to show, right? We made a good paycheck and was putting money into a 401k. Most people think like, oh, but what about my health benefits, right? I get that through my employer if you're lucky. Oh, what am I going to do without that? It's really like golden handcuffs in a lot of ways. And so what we decided to do was to leave our six-figure jobs to focus on buying performing assets that put cash flow in our pockets every month. And once you understand what you're doing really is you're trading active earning, right? Which is when you're trading time for dollars. You're working a 40-hour week or a 50-hour week every week, and you get a certain paycheck that company thinks you're worth. You're trading that active time, so you have no time left over to do anything that you really want to do in life, and instead trading that for passive income so that every month those assets are putting cash in your pocket.
Now, we set a goal for when we thought we would hit this freedom number, which we've talked about before. We teach you how we came up with the freedom number, and we decided once we have performing assets that pay us X amount of dollars per month, we're good. We can quit our day jobs. We have entire videos, we'll link to them below, on how to hit your freedom number, how to calculate it, right? But what we had to do before that was come up with our balance sheet to figure out what is it we actually own that's a real performing asset. And a lot of people will go through this exercise and say, oh no, I have assets, right? I have a car, I have a house, and I have a stock market, a retirement account. Okay, but those things, my main criteria for whether or not you have an asset performs is, can you pay this month's grocery bill with it?
Right. Can you eat? So people are like, oh, I have a house. I have a house, right? It's got equity in it. Well, you cannot eat equity. If you had to pull out that equity in your house in order to pay your grocery bill, yes, I guess you could get a home equity line of credit and do that. But where is that monthly cash flow coming in every month, regardless of your W-2 job?
Right. And so that's what we teach you to do. That's why we launched what we're calling now the Financial Freedom Academy. Hopefully you've heard of it. If this is the first you've heard of it, please look it up, because it's a 10-module course that will teach you to reverse engineer your life just like this. We teach you how to create that balance sheet, how to evaluate your assets versus your liabilities, and go from being a liability-heavy family to an asset-heavy family. That's the whole goal. And if we can do it, and I'll share with you, when we got started, our asset column was much smaller than I thought. Our liability column was much bigger than I thought. We were in debt $1 million because our assets were so expensive and were not performing. And we turned it around, and now here's where we work. You're looking at it right here. We don't work at the networks anymore.
So you can do this very simply, right? If you think about that W-2 job, how can I start to transition away from that so that the things that you're working for, if it's 4 hours a day, working towards creating passive income every day, not something that you have to do at 9 o'clock at night when you get home and you're exhausted and you just want to hang out with your wife, or you don't even get to see your kids. We do this show, we do a live stream on a regular basis, and we have people that are like, I'm at the office right now, but I'm not going to be there much longer. I can't wait to break free. So that's what our whole goal is, to help you create financial freedom in your life. I hope that you'll check out the Financial Freedom Academy. You can find it at financialfreedomacademy.com, and the link is below. We want to hear your stories. So please, in the description below, let us know how close you are to financial freedom. What are the things holding you back? And we'll do some great video and content here to help you get over that hump. Until next time, everyone, go out there, take action, and earn that financial freedom. We'll see you next time.